Thank you all for your attendance tonight. Council, I will ask everyone to please rise for the invocation, which will be given by Pastor William Parsons with the Redeemer Lutheran Church. He's always on time and here when asked to be. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, amen. Heavenly Father, guardian and keeper of your people, watch over those who are entrusted with the administration of Fairhope's government. Make them pure and honest. Keep them from temptation or bribery, from favoritism or prejudice, from indolence or neglect of duty. Create in them the earnest desire to serve faithfully, attend their efforts, that their work may not suffer from mediocrity. Permit them to experience the joys of noble service, completed for a grateful people. Encourage cooperation from those who are served and from those who help to serve. And use every willing service and every effort to put forth good government. Bless and rule over your people here in Fairhope, that your will be accomplished among them. Promote all things that are good for your kingdom. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Council. Clerk has handed out an additional item. We may get to that number 24 yet. This is a resolution requesting the purchase of some overhead doors for Fire Station number 3. I do want to let you know that these bids were opened January the 3rd, and they're just making their way to us. This is a budgeted item, and it's come in a little bit under budget, so I would ask for a motion to amend the agenda to add the purchase of the 6 overhead doors for Fire Station number 3 as agenda item 15. Can we ask for an amendment to the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all is in favor of amending the agenda and adding this as item 15, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Okay, thank you, Council. Let's go ahead and approve the minutes, and I'm going to make a couple more comments. Let's go ahead, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the January 27th regular City Council meeting, the work session, and the agenda meeting. Do you have any changes or deletions?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, minutes are approved. So I want to address what I think a large majority of you are here for, and that is the public hearing, which is item 5. I have done my best to let those of you that I know that we're going to attend tonight know that last week the city received a letter from the applicant to table this hearing and postpone this. We would not be taking a vote anyway. We'd be having a public hearing. So in spite of my best efforts, I don't know if any of you or if all of you received that news. So I do want to let you know that the applicant has asked for item number 5 to be tabled, and I do believe that in keeping with tradition, we typically grant these requests from the applicant. I do believe that this council will grant that request. That's not an indication of which way, for or against they feel, but I just want to let you all know before you sit through the meeting that if you're here for that and you want to leave, I do believe that this will be tabled. So in fairness to you and your time and respectful of your time, I want to let you know that up front. So if any of you want to stick around, it's right there at number 5. You can wait till that. That's probably just going to be, a few minutes from now, or you're free to leave or stick around for the whole meeting, whichever you prefer. But I wanted to make that clear before we get started. Mayor Wilson, your report, please. Okay, we'll give you a few minutes.
I'll let the room clear out.
Okay, sure. I looked down for a minute and I looked up and
That's why I said what?
I will ask y'all, if anybody's leaving, there's the State of the City booklet at the back of the council chambers. I encourage you to pick it up and read it. It's on the table in the back.
That's the majority of them.
Okay, I will go through this quickly. The department heads did an incredible job with their booths, their individual booths at the State of the City address Thursday of last week. The interactive expo-type event was put in place so folks can mingle with each department and hear from them directly about what's been happening the last 3 years and what's next. The State of the City Expo booklet is, as I mentioned, at the back of the room, and I do encourage you to pick it up. It's also available at the library, Nick Center, Quail Creek, and the Quail Creek Golf and City Hall. I went back to the promises I made back in 2016, which were commitments each city and utility department have adopted, and I commend the hard work of my administration for all of these promises that were made in basically 4 categories, and that's leadership for responsible growth, invest in and protect our most valuable assets, improve communication and citizen engagement, and end wasteful spending and restore fiscal health. Ending wasteful spending and restoring fiscal health was the first priority. With it, all other goals are much more attainable. There are thousands of decisions made, big and small, addressed in each department, which is highlighted in that booklet in the back. Because the city relied on half utility net profits to balance its budget, important upgrades and necessary annual maintenance was ignored for many, many years. The utility department simply could not afford to do these things. Creating a self-sufficient city budget was paramount in order to allow each utility to use its profits to reinvest in the long overdue infrastructure upgrades. As of 2020 budget, and you'll see on this graph, before 2017, like I said, it was over 50% net profit. 2017 was 29, 2018 was 24, 2019 was 5% of utility profits, and in 2020 budget is the first self-sustaining budget in Fairhope history. Cutting expenses and finding ways to be more efficient was just part of the equation. Finding ways to increase revenue was brought about by updating our impact fee study for new departments, for new development, which had not been done in 10 years, investing for the first time in tourism to increase sales tax and lodging tax. 50,000 visitor guides were distributed in the state welcome centers. Updating fees that have not been adjusted in over a decade, and we're in the process of updating our cost of service study in utilities. Improving communication and citizen engagement is something I pride my administration on because it was sorely lacking before 2017. Obtaining opinions from all walks of life and listening to different viewpoints is the only way to run a successful city. I value the thoughts and concerns of others and believe they push us to make better decisions for the community as a whole. From live streaming all of our city meetings to creating tools to meet communication needs the way our citizens want to receive them. For instance, Everbridge notification system is available on the front page of our website. Please sign up for that. And the reason this was important too is one of the promises is without community engagement and communication, accountability is not possible. One of the communication tools that launched last week is our Fairhope 311. The platform is the industry leader in local government for customer service and will be a game changer for our citizens. Available on the front page of our website, residents can easily communicate with the departments they need to get in touch with. The information and history are retained with important follow-up tools when multiple city employees are involved in helping. You can also download the app in your app store for Fairhope 911. And that's what the app looks like. This is what I hope this new platform will really knock your socks off. I mean, I'm very impressed with it. It's just made it a lot easier to find accessibility to the services you need, and you can also pay your bills from that app. Leadership for Responsible Growth was the most significant goal of this term, and I'm happy to report that our planning department went from barely keeping up with the inflow of development applications to working proactively with developers from the start. It is now a collaborative approach among staff of various departments with a refined application review system. I've replaced planning commissioners with fresh voices from different backgrounds and diversity that better match the makeup of our community. And that was a quote we had in there. Some of this was included in the State of the City. We no longer can afford developers planning our future, and I think some of y'all are here for that very reason. Our planning department is now primed to start work on our new $650,000 restore-funded comprehensive land use plan in late spring with our citizens' help to create a roadmap for our future. Invest in and protect our most valuable assets. When it comes to investing in these assets, the most important issues that have only been talked about in years past have finally been addressed. We've invested millions in facility maintenance, critical utility upgrades, and improving the health of Mobile Bay, all without borrowing a dime. The 4 BP Restore projects I proposed in 2017 were awarded totaling $18 million for sewer rehabilitation, a study to reduce sanitary sewer overflows into Mobile Bay along the eastern shore, a comprehensive land use plan to better manage growth and protect our quality of life. And lastly, a working waterfront project located at the Municipal Pier. We began work in 2019, and it was the first project in the state to get off the ground. You can take an active role in helping define some of the details of this project through a survey that was just posted on the city Facebook, and I just shared it. It's a survey that basically will include things that the project has already promised, that it will improve the experience for citizens with the bay. It's a bluff stabilization project in our South Park, which will also be used as a seating gallery, a sunset seating gallery, and a watershed feature as well. But this is the basically the Mobile River watershed. And as you can see, it takes up almost the whole state. It's the second largest in the county. It all comes downstream as far as what ends up in Mobile Bay. I'm proud of this administration for helping me meet with different state officials because we do need the state as a whole to take an active role to make meaningful improvements to the health of Mobile Bay. Even when we finish everything that we're going to do for Fairhope, which is completing our role in this whole watershed, it most likely will not make that much difference. So we do have to have all stakeholders. The big news that, again, is in the State of the City. We've done a lot of outreach with the state officials, and I'm proud that this administration's role in the bipartisan legislative amendment to the Water Quality Bill, introducing a grant program that was drafted in November 2019 by Senators Doug Jones and Rick Scott. The intent of this communication was to help put together in perspective when it comes to the health of Mobile Bay. We explained everything that we're doing. We're lucky to have the resources to do that, but most municipalities cannot afford those things. And we also have a lot of individuals that are on that need help for their property. So this bill, if passed, and I'm really behind this, will help fund those individual projects. And lastly, and it's in the last page of the State of the City, it ends with the exciting opportunity to look forward to if we stay the course of managing the city and utility department independently. In a few short years, when each utility department has completed most of the expensive upgrades, the city will be in a position to start using a pilot, which is a percentage of utility profits, for community development. What could the city of Fairhope do with $4 to $6 million annually that we can use for community development and our quality of life? But we do have to stay the course on this, and it's up to you to hold elected officials accountable. Thank you, and that's it.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Next item will be public participation on agenda items. Item 5, as I announced, if some of you came in late, I don't know if you're here for item 5, but that will be more than likely tabled tonight at the request of the applicant. Item 6 is a public hearing, so I will ask you to hold off your comments on item 6 until the public hearing. So if you want to address items 7 through 15, items 7 through 15, if you could come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Mr. Spriggs, did you want to speak to that item? Now's your chance.
I'm here to speak to item, I believe it's
14.
14.
I believe.
Okay. I'm Kevin Spriggs. I live at 23 Signal Hill Road in Spanish Fort. I have been working with Dr. Liu and the Common Sense Campaign. We were approached a few months back about the possibility of reviving the I-10 bridge project, and the revival of the project involved reducing the cost by using an expressway concept, whereby an expressway would be built in the center of the 2 existing I-10 Bayway lanes, along with the cable stay bridge across the Mobile River as originally proposed. So as we've studied this concept, we found that this could be done and cost reduce the project by $800 million. And so part of addressing the governor's challenge to the South Alabama community was that, her challenge was that, well, we, as a state, we don't want to move forward with this project until they decide what we want down here. So Dr. Liu and I had put together a presentation, and we tried to address as many officials as possible. We've working with Mayor Haygood in Daphne, and Mike McMillan up in Spanish Fort as well. And we've talked to AlDOT officials, we've talked to Thompson Engineering, and so we pulled together what we call the Coastal Alabama Consensus Plan, and the Eastern Shore MPO has adopted a scope of work that by which that plan is in line with, such that the Bayway would remain intact, the Bayway would remain toll-free, but an expressway would be built between the Bayway, and that expressway could have a toll on it, but it would be a minimal toll, not a $6 toll. And it's possible, depending on state funding sources, that maybe a toll isn't necessary, since we have shown that the project can be done for $800 million less. The original project was $2.1 billion with using a P3 concept. It's likely that the consensus plan could be performed by traditional AlDOT action and not involving, this public-private partnership concept. So I have a lot of technical information I can provide to any of the members here or the public if they would like to speak to me about it. But basically, we would ask that the City Council endorse the Eastern Shore MPO's scope of work, since that does allow this concept to be, possibly be moved forward. Our objective is to show the state, Montgomery, Governor Ivey, Director Cooper, to show them that we do have a consensus on what we would like to see happen. Mainly no tolls on existing routes, and that those tolls have to be, that tolls would not be charged on existing routes, and that those existing routes would always be maintained as toll-free routes, even if a new expressway were constructed. And so the next step would be for the governor and for Director Cooper to take the project and revive it and put it back on the state's transportation list. And then at some point in the future, that would allow the local MPOs to also put the project back on the list. With the state involved, then they can begin detail engineering. They can apply for additional grants from the federal government and just advance the project forward. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Spriggs.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Is there anyone else to address the council on items 7 through 15? And 15 was the item that was added when we amended the agenda concerning the purchase of some overhead doors for a fire station. I doubt any of you are here to speak to that, but you can have that opportunity if you like. Okay, I'll close public comments, and remember that item 6 will be a public hearing, and we will make a decision on item 5 when we come to that agenda item. Council comments. Councilman Robinson?
I don't have any. I'm going to cede my time to Councilman Brown. We've got a group of guys here. They're going to entertain us with a very interesting presentation.
Councilman Conyers?
Yeah, I've just got a couple comments. Mostly want to give a shout out to Aaron Langley and Eastern Shore Repertory Theater. They are currently traveling home from JTF, that's Junior Theater Festival West in California, where they had a very successful weekend and are, like I said, we're in return mode today. I also wanted to specifically mention, out of all the performances they had out there, that 2 of our own Fairhope Junior City Council members got individual awards while they were out there. Isabella McCormick was named an All-Star, and Victoria Watley was All-Festival Individual Performance. That's basically the MVP of the whole event. Probably about 6,000 participants, so not a small event. So we really have some talented people here in Fairhope, and Aaron Langley knows how to get an awful lot out of them. So, again, every time I can, I bring that up to make a case for a performing arts center here. So, just wanted to say congratulations to them. And that's it for me.
Councilman Boone, I'm going to skip you, Councilman Brown, for a moment.
I have no comment.
Okay. Councilman Brown?
Go ahead, Councilman Brown.
Back to me.
Yeah, back to you, brother.
I defer my time to the scouts that came here tonight to give us a little presentation.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Son, you know, to get your badge, you're going to have to smile while you're doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. My name is Beth Broadbeck, and I'm the AOL Den 1 leader of Cub Scout Pack 47. We did a tree inventory for the Build a Better World adventure, and we were led by Dr. Bo Broadbeck, the urban forestry specialist for Auburn University. And I'll let him present, and then we'll let the boys present their findings.
Good evening. So I had the pleasure of working with this great group of scouts to introduce them to the concepts of urban forest management and the values that trees bring to our city. And so using a iTree software, which is a little app that was developed by the U.S. Forest Service, they are going to present to you a sample of our trees in Fairhope and what the values they bring to our city every year.
Thank you for your time, and my name is Christopher, and our team wanted to know the environmental value of trees in Section Street of Fairhope, Alabama. And our project team was me, Christopher, Ethan, Ezra, and Andrew, and Colin, who couldn't be here tonight.
Hi, my name is Ethan. I will be explaining what methods we used an iPhone for the iTree app that was developed by the Forest Service. We used a diameter tape and a compass direction of trees to the buildings. And I'll be presenting project area. We did Section Street area in the green. 24 trees measured. Species: willow oak, Chinese elm, ash. Average tree size: 9 to 14 inches in diameter. Now Ezra will speak.
The results on carbon dioxide were the CO2 sequester amount per year is worth $119. The CO2 stored to date per year is worth $609. The avoided energy emissions are worth $153. It is equivalent to 29,498 miles driven by an average passenger vehicle. The results for air pollution on the 24 trees were removed each year was $2.78. Removing air pollution is important because 1 in every 10 Alabamians reports having asthma. Thank you. I'm going to hand you over to Christopher with stormwater result.
The stormwater runoff avoided was $19.25 each year. The runoff avoided each year was 2,154 gallons. The rainfall intercepted, which is rain that never touches the ground caught by the leaves and trees, is 23,726 of a gallon. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrew, and I will be doing energy usage. Energy usage per year is $710 total. Most of our electrical savings is AC, which is 5,611 kilowatts per hour. Our final product was of a serving size of 24 trees is $1,005. Imagine what all the trees in Fairhope are worth. Thank you for your time. Do you have questions?
Mayor, can you get a photo, Mayor, with these Cub Scouts, please?
Oh, yes, absolutely. One of my layers off.
Plant more trees.
Great job, guys.
Do you have any questions?
Too late.
That was an excellent presentation, so thank you, Christopher, Ezra, Ethan, and Andrew. And the name of the gentleman that wasn't here?
Colin.
Colin. Okay, thank you very, very much. I have one question for you. How does that compare to other urban areas? I mean, this was just one sampling, one section of one street, so, I mean.
Sure, so we actually did a full inventory of Fairhope in 2016 as part of a study with Auburn, and so pretty good. I mean, this was actually a very small set of trees, and actually very small trees, and so we found that they had a lot of value. I think Fairhope's urban forest canopy is about 40%, which is on par with a lot of other cities in Alabama. So it's, I think you guys are doing a pretty good job in Fairhope.
Okay, all right.
Good. Arbor Day, of course, you were probably there, was Saturday, and we should incorporate this next year because it's very valuable information. Thank you all.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Brown, do you have any further comments?
That's it.
Okay, I have no comments tonight. We'll move on. Item 5 was a public hearing amending zoning ordinance number 1253. The applicant sent a letter to the city last week and requested that this be tabled. I will apologize to the people that came out. Like I said, we tried to communicate that they did request this to be tabled, and it is traditional that when an applicant requests an item such as this to be tabled, that we grant that request, and I think that we should stick to what we typically do in this case. And so I will ask the applicant. I see Scott over here. If you could tell us, you don't have to answer this, but do you care to tell us why you're asking this to be tabled?
Sure. Scott Hutchinson with GMC. I appreciate you considering our request. We tried to get it in before it was advertised.
You might want to pull that mic up.
We tried to get the request
in those guys up there
before it was advertised, but we were not able to do that. So I apologize, and apologize to people that came out and didn't have a public hearing. But the reason for the request is we're still working on a revised plan, and we don't want to continue to put this off, but it's something we're going to represent to or show to the Planning Commission here in the next few weeks.
Right.
Probably, hopefully at the next meeting, but maybe even the meeting after that for the Planning Commission. So rather than and this is fairly new, rather than reset it to March 12th, we actually request that you maybe move it even past that. What I anticipate is probably being ready to present to you at the first meeting in May. And I would hate to keep telling people come to this meeting and we continue to request that it be tabled. So I'd rather just either make it indefinite or maybe the first meeting in May, something like that, and then we'll know a lot more about what we're presenting.
To kind of bound it, would you have a problem if somebody made the motion to table it until no later than the first meeting in May? You would always have an opportunity to make another request,
Yeah.
but instead of kicking this ball down the road indefinitely and having people come out every, or even April or May meetings anticipating it and going to Planning Commission meetings to speak to this subject, if we could put some kind of date on it, I think it would help us bring this to a vote.
That'd be fine with us.
Okay, all right. Staff, do you have any comments? Okay, council, I would entertain a motion to table this zoning ordinance amendment until no later than the first council meeting in May.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of tabling this until no later than the first meeting in May, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay,
Thank you.
motion carries. And once again, our apologies to those that are here. Okay, item 6 is a public hearing as well. We'll hear from staff first. This is an ordinance to amend zoning ordinance number 1253 on several zoning ordinance amendments. I will ask for someone to introduce the ordinance.
I'll introduce it.
Okay, the ordinance has been introduced. Mr. Simmons?
Thank you, council. As I mentioned in the work session, I'm going to summarize what we're doing here because most of these, we're not really adding anything to the zoning ordinance, just amending, and most of these are cleanup. So we'll summarize here, and we do have the full language on more slides if we need to get any detail. Be happy to do that. Article 2, Section A3, Director of Planning, that is being amended. That also included the building and planning used to be merged as one department. Language referring to building permits is not is unnecessary now. And you also have a planning and zoning manager and a development services manager. instead of changing the hundreds of copy where it says Director of Planning, we just changed the definition, is what we're doing there. Article 3, Section C1, Dimension Standards, we've got 3 amendments to that. Maximum lot coverage is something we've been applying. There's memos dating back to planning managers, but it's just to be clear in our zoning code. For an example is R2 has a maximum lot coverage of 37%. As I think in an update to our zoning code, that we went to a table format and some words got purged and kind of changed. And the word that came in here was principal structure. And memos throughout time have said that's all buildings. So impervious, your 37% of lot coverage, we're clarifying with that in the table. There was also intent to, when you have a driveway on the side of a house, and mostly areas where there's a 10-foot setback, the setback needs to be 15 feet because we have a 3-foot wide landscape requirement. And the language just was a little tricky there. We had people debating up to 3, it was kind of what we talked about before, just a clarification on where we're going. And the final one within that section, we have a minimum separation between buildings, between a building, principal building, and accessory structure of 10 feet. So at times, we have multiple accessory structures, and we don't have a minimum there. There is in building code a separation requirement, and what we want to do here is catch this at the zoning as well and match that up. So just if you have 2 accessory buildings, there has to be 5 in between them. So we implemented that. Article 4, Section B5, fencing. This is a very simple amendment to, we've debated for years what's a fence, what's a wall. It basically, wherever you see fencing under that definition, 8-foot height limits, we put fencing / walls. So that's the amendment. So we are clear on what those are. The big amendment where you see most of the red ink is in Article 5, Section A, and that's PUD, Plan Unit Developments. And we've had requirements under Plan Unit Developments in 3 sections of our code. And one thing we're trying to do here is get that all in one place so it's actually easier for an applicant to see. I think the biggest change we're implementing to this, where a plan unit development currently requires a site plan, it's commonplace to, there's sometimes supplemental documents that are needed as a plan unit development. And not every PUD is the same, so it's hard to generalize here, but it may be one has architectural plans. We're actually looking at what the architecture looks like. Another may have a part requirement, so that can't quite be squeezed into a site plan. We have a narrative requirement. All of those things should be part of the codified ordinance. So what we're doing here, instead of just site plan, there will be a master development plan. That includes every piece of document that we've discussed and becomes part of that approved ordinance. Where this really helps us as staff, right now, if we have a PUD that was originally approved 20 years ago, and it goes through multiple revisions, for every one of those revisions, we have to go pull out a box and read through everything and see what actually happened. What this master development plan will do, when a PUD comes in to be amended, they start with that plan. And then how do you edit that? Are you adding to it, or are you asking for a change? So there is a document that kind of follows that PUD, which is a zoning, a case of its type, follows that project and can be amended. So we always have one reference document that we can look at and see what's the up-to-date requirements as they've been approved. We've clarified the review application process, and we've also, this is a big change to it, currently we do not have an expiration on plan unit developments. So things that were approved in 1994 are still, and maybe not built, are still there. So we have added, basically if it's not done with I think the language reads, you get 1 year and then can ask for 1 additional year. And if not done, because we have a placeholder zoning, it reverts back to RA. So that's kind of our most restrictive zoning type as regards to lot minimums.
And Hunter, let me ask you this, because I'm
Sure.
looking at the screen and it says, introduce an expiration date.
Mhm.
You call it, some people call it a sunset clause, a failure to begin construction within 1 year. So will there be a definition of what beginning construction consists of? If somebody goes out there and takes a shovel and flips a load of dirt over, does that constitute beginning of construction, or is that going to be clearly defined?
And we will clearly define that. We can look at that and see if that's to a standard we want to create. I think you're right. The intent there is not just a land disturbance, might not, but once a building permit's issued, it's still kind of tricky because there can be multiple phases and maybe
You're gonna
only
tie
a
it to
small
something pretty-
page, but we have to have a threshold. So we'll be clear on that, and we can even flip through that language and look at that. And if we need to make an amendment before the next meeting, we'll be happy to. And just to finish up the summary, Article 7, Section B1, nonconforming structures. This one has kind of flip-flopped back and forth, and just want to be clear either way, interpretations of this. Nonconforming structures, as you know, a lot of these were houses built, 100 years ago, 80 years ago, before we had a zoning code. So we implement setbacks and zoning, and some of these houses are built into setbacks. And an example, if you have a 12 by 12 shed roof extending into a setback, well, we don't want to make someone tear that down now. That existed before our zoning code, so that should be kind of grandfathered in, if we can use that term. But where the gray area came in was extending that. So instead of just 12 foot, maybe it's 2 foot to the property line. There's been a few interpretations that can now be the length of their buildable area or the length of the lot. So, what might have been a 10-foot shed roof extending in the setback is now a 35-foot tall building extending from the front setback to the rear setback. So we're clarifying here, non-conforming structures absolutely should remain, but extending those in time is a lot of definitions that you preserve, but not extending those horizontally or vertically is the intent of that one. So if any questions on the first 5, I can flip over to the PUD section. We can kind of look at that language.
Let's go on. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go to that.
And I'll try to, that's tiny. Let me see if I can, Joe, if you're listening, if you'll help me on number 8, if there's any way we can zoom in on that. I can read this if he's working on this. Construction of the approved development must begin within 1 year from the date of approval of the master development plan by the city council. Any approved changes in the plan shall not extend the time at which said 1 year period begins to run. The planning commission may, no sooner than 60 days prior to the end of said 1 year period, upon the written request of the applicant, extend such 1 year period for a period of not more than 6 months. If in the judgment of the planning commission such additional time is warranted, no more than 2 extensions shall be given. In any event, the construction of the PUD must be started within 2 years of the approval of the master development plan by the city council. Failure to begin the development of the PUD within said 1 year period or the period is extended shall automatically void the master development plan, and the zoning classification shall automatically revert to the zoning classification in effect prior to. This is actually, do you have the language in your packet?
I do.
If you can look, this is an old version. That last sentence should read, instead of revert to the zoning classification in effect, does yours read revert to RA?
Yeah,
It does
well,
not.
I'm looking at what you're seeing on the screen there, and in our package, let me look through that.
The ordinance, draft ordinance, do we have that one? That's very important. There was only 2 changes, and they're,
Yeah, and the packages says RA.
okay, we're the right one. So basically, we're construction shall begin. If that's receiving the building permit and actually constructing. If we need to clarify that that should be building permit as opposed to just a land disturbance, would that be?
Yeah, I think, well, something along those lines, definitely something more concrete that's material. I mean, if they go out and cut the shrubs off of it, or, you know,
Right.
plant some survey stakes in the ground, that's certainly not commencing construction.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, everything's open to interpretation, and we have some very creative people here, and it would certainly be used as a, you know, as a definition for beginning construction by people that want to put it off.
Okay. And potentially that should be more infrastructure, building of infrastructure, you know, roads, if they need to come in first, that process goes through
I don't know if you can put a
preliminary.
percentage on it. I don't know if that's fair, you know, because then they would just stop at whatever percentage. But
Right.
it needs to be something that we can, you know, you can say is black and white, you know.
Okay. Okay. We'll look in to see how other folks, this is a common, it's in most planned unit development ordinances, so we'll see how others have addressed that and try to make that, tighten that up before next meeting.
And, excuse me, Councilman Robinson, did you confirm, I believe what he was looking for is in our package,
It
right?
is.
It is loaded on our,
Right.
on
Okay.
our iPads.
Great. I just want to make sure you had for the ordinance, we have the right version. So there was only one other minor. We changed where I read 6 months here and can extend that twice. Yours should read once, 1 year extension, and can only extend that the one time. In essence, it's the same thing, 2 years sunset. Any other questions?
Any questions, council, before we open the public hearing? Okay, hearing no questions, we will now open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak to this proposed change to the zoning ordinance, so if you'll please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes to address the council. Surely somebody wants to speak to this. This is exciting stuff.
Very good amendments, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, I will close the public hearing, and we'll let this lay over until the next meeting for final adoption consideration. Item 7 is an ordinance amending not zoning ordinance, but as ordinance number 1412 by revision of Chapter 21, Utilities, Section 21-21, regular rates, specifically A, base rates for number 6, eleemosynary. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that pronunciation. If anybody can pronounce it better than that, please do. Eleemosynary M2I. If you look back in your package, you'll see that there was language on the eleemosynary M2 adopted September 25th, 2006. For the M2, it states applicable to churches and nonprofit organizations who receive the majority of their support from charitable contributions. And then if you look at the changes that were made on March 8th, 2010, as Hunter pointed out, a lot of times things get left out in a translation when amendments are made. And in this case, I think it's pretty clear that a clause was left out. The M2 states applicable to churches and nonprofit organizations who receive the majority of their support from charitable contributions. Eleemosynary M2I states applicable to churches and nonprofit organizations where the maximum 15-minute interval integrated demand is 50 kilowatts or more. What was left out after nonprofit organizations was who received the majority of their support from charitable contributions. That can be left open to interpretation to the detrimental effect of $500,000 a year, in one case, to the city of Fairhope. So I believe that we need to fix this immediately, and so that we don't lose $500,000 in budgeted revenue from our utilities this year. And I would say that not exactly sure, why it started getting interpreted this way more recently, because for 10 years it was interpreted that it had that clause, who received the majority of their support from charitable contributions.
I will
So-
tell you that Thomas Hospital did call and ask, to look at their rates, and that's how we came across this.
Yeah,
So, things have to be in black and white. So.
well, they do, but a $500,000 decision should be brought to the.
It's also
council.
part of, we go by the ordinance, and this is the number one, business and employer in Fairhope, so we do want to look at how we can help, but the rates also are gonna be, possibly increasing too. There needs to be, to me, and that through this rate study, we're gonna be adding additional categories.
Clearly, they weren't intended to get a $500,000 gift from the city for the past 10 years.
I didn't know what it was gonna be, but they are a nonprofit.
Who do not receive the majority of their
But that
support from
wasn't
charitable
in the ordinance.
contributions. Council, I'm going to ask that, just due to the serious nature of this, and that for like I said, every couple of weeks this is put off, it costs the city, $25,000. We have, this has been introduced. Clark, get somebody to introduce this ordinance? I can ask somebody to introduce this.
I'll introduce it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask council, if I could, entertain a motion for immediate consideration.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for immediate consideration. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussion, clerk, will you call the question?
Council President,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
Okay, and I'll entertain a motion for final adoption now.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for final adoption. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, clerk, will you call the question?
Council President,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Item number 8 is a resolution that Council President Jack Burrell is hereby authorized to execute a contract for professional services for the closing costs and title insurance on the northeast corner of Fairhope Avenue and Section Street, also known as the Clock Corner, property purchased with Kopesky and Britt LLC with a not-to-exceed cost. I don't have that not-to-exceed cost. Mr. Attorney, what would you say, 10,000? That would cover it, though, substantially. That's what 10,000 would cover. Right. Yeah, I just don't want to. One was 9 and one was 5. I was just saying 10 to catch it all. He's not going to charge more if we put a not to exceed. He's been good about that, I believe. Okay, council, let's put not to exceed 10,000 on that. It should be quite a bit less than that. Although there are some extenuating circumstances that he does have to work with single tax on this, and so there's some other tricks, and it has to be also deed transfer and some other complexities with this. So, but that should cover it. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Oh, I know you were against the purchase. Motion carries. You were against the purchase. You were against the closing too? Tough.
Standing firm.
Tough. Well, it was a done deal. All right, item 9 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope approve the selection of Sawgrass Consulting for professional engineering services design and the CE&I services for the Pecan Avenue Drainage Basin improvements, Phase 1 for the Public Works Department, and hereby authorizes Mayor Karen Wilson to negotiate a fee schedule and establish a not-to-exceed limit with this firm. Mr. Johnson had briefed us in the work session. Would anybody like Mr. Johnson to brief us further on this?
I make a motion we approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the selection as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. All right, motion carries. Item 10 is a resolution to award a bid number 14-20 for well abandonment services for the iron well on South Ingleside Avenue for the Water Department to M&W Drilling LLC with a total bid proposal of $34,000. This is the old abandoned well. This will be capping off the old abandoned well behind Fire Station Number 1. Jay briefed us in the work session. Would you have any questions for Jay? Hearing no questions for Jay, I'll entertain a motion to award the bid.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to award the bid. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, council. Item 11 is a resolution the City of Fairhope vote to procure a Rhino rotary mower for the Horticulture Department of the Public Works. The equipment is available for direct procurement through the Sourcewell Purchasing Co-op, and it's already been nationally bid. Therefore, it does not have to be let out for bid. The cost will be $17,494.24. It's over budget. The budget was $12,000, so the department would like to use the funds that were budgeted for a box blade and cutter towards this purchase. And I will say that Public Works has come in on their cost estimates typically below. I believe that there may have just been an error in that, so I'd entertain a motion to go ahead and procure the rotary mower.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Item 12 is a resolution to reject bids for the new cabinets and a tile for the Fire Station Number 1 for the Fairhope Volunteer Fire Department and rebid. Mr. Johnson briefed us in a work session on this, and I believe he gave a compelling reason to go ahead and reject these bids and put them back out on the street. So I'll entertain a motion to reject the bids.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, bids are rejected, thank you, and they will be rebid. Item 13 is a resolution the City Council approves the street closures and the use of the city streets and the sidewalks requested by Brandon Gertz with Tiny Perfect Productions for the filming of the map of Tiny Perfect Things. Based on the discussions with Downtown Merchants Association, with closures being intermittent on Friday, March 13th, 2020 for vehicle and pedestrian traffic, permission to move and replace the wooden waste receptacle containers, ground level planters, hanging planters from the filming area on the day of the filming for each location, and move and replace crosswalk stanchion signage from South Section and De La Mar and South Section and Johnson Avenue from filming area on the day of filming for each location, which says March 8th, 2020, and permission to stage heavy equipment in the background and foreground at the Public Works facility during the March 19th, 2020 filming. Ms. Walker, does this cover everything? It's the Friday. Is there a date missing on here? I want to make sure we cover this. March the 13th. I don't see March the 15th. Yeah, you look in the attachment. The resolution doesn't say it. As the overview of it doesn't. Yeah, so yeah, see your attachment. It does include Sunday, March the 8th, and it also includes should include Sunday, March the 15th. We'll make sure that we announce all that. Is that right? Did I get those dates right? Because it was Friday the 13th and then Sunday the 15th, right? Did I get it all right, Brandon? Okay. Brandon, since you're here, do you want to add anything to that briefly?
No, I think most of the information there is still accurate as far as the 2 Sundays of the major focus of the downtown area, and then Friday was traffic control around the area for the section of Fairhope Avenue. That's correct.
Do you think you have good collaboration and cooperation from Julwin's? There was some concern about that, and then Sunday, was a big day of business for that restaurant in particular.
Yeah, yes, sir. Basically, I've been speaking with David, and now that we're getting through some of our setup for the first couple of locations, we're going to be able to focus a little bit more to work with David on a plan. Essentially, I'm going to work with the parking lot that's nearby. We're going to make signage directly for Jewel Winds to kind of direct the patrons to parking areas that will still be available nearby to access the streets that are available nearby. And we'll actually have some of our crew there to help direct the people and show them how to get into the side door and also the front door for even with the major closure of that street. We won't be filming constantly during that process, so we're going to work, especially in the morning time and after church, to make sure that all the customers and patrons are able to pass through and get to the area that they need to get to in order to go have a meal at Jewel Winds. Yes, sir.
Brandon, I know we're making you jump through a lot of hoops, but we really do appreciate it. It is important to our merchants. Did you talk to the churches that are going to be affected by the closures on Morphe
Yes, sir.
on Sunday?
Yes,
I know that, you have the Lutheran Church, the Methodist Church, and even the Baptist Church, and even the Catholic Church, because they all
And they do have quite a bit of
members that'll be, and guests and
yes, sir.
visitors that'll be traversing those streets.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's for the section of Morphe Sunday. Yes, sir. We're going to also, with those, make sure that we keep the access open to their parking lots and that they're able to pass through in their morning sessions and midday sessions that they need to at both the Lutheran Church and, like you said, the United Methodist, and as well focus on that. As we get a little bit closer, we'll be able to make sure we have a good plan with all of them and that they're all aware of what we can do to help them. That's going to be our focus.
Okay. Any questions for Brandon? It's really been a great effort on behalf of you, and we'll commend you, and also Ms. Walker. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you guys for.
If I don't hear any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item 14 is a resolution the City of Fairhope hereby endorses and supports the MPOs, that should be Eastern Shore MPO's action of adopting the resolution number 2020-06 and the associated project scope as a solution to the Mobile River Bridge and Bayway project. And as Mr. Spriggs stated at the opening of tonight's meeting, and I spoke about it in the work session, so I'll just go through and say that the mayor and I are both members of the Eastern Shore MPO, and we both support this resolution and scope of work. It does reduce the cost of adding additional capacity, and a new bridge over the Mobile River reduces the cost by between $800 million and $900 million. It does preserve the legacy routes to be used for free for inter-county commerce between Mobile and Baldwin counties, and we endorse it, and we're asking the Fairhope City Council to endorse it. I want to let you know that I believe Daphne has already passed a resolution in support. Spanish Ford, if they haven't already, are in the process of passing a resolution in support. The Baldwin County, they have already passed it. Thank you, Clerk. The Baldwin County Commissioners, I believe, are going to take a vote on this tomorrow. Is that? Okay, so it's a real collaborative effort from everybody on this side of the bay, and we are working very hard with the Mobile MPO to try to speak in one voice to the people in Montgomery, and hopefully we will successfully speak with one voice and get this project moving along, which all the people of South Alabama, I believe, wish to undertake and believe that it's necessary. So with that, I will entertain a motion to endorse and support the Eastern Shore MPO.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, council. Item 15 that was added at the beginning of tonight's council meeting is a resolution that the City of Fairhope did request receiving open bids for 6 overhead doors for Fire Station number 3. The bids were open and tabulated, and you should have that in your package now. The bids were opened on January the 3rd, and after evaluating the bids and the proposals as required in the bid specifications, we're asking that these be awarded to Bailey Door Incorporated with a total bid proposal of $38,076 for the 6 overhead doors at Fire Station number 3, which does come in almost $3,000 below budget. So I will entertain a motion to award the bid.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you, council. We'll now open the floor to any other business you have to bring forth before the council. If you come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, you'll be given 3 minutes to address the council. I do want to recognize State Senator Bill Hightower in the back of the room. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Yes, sir. Is there anyone that wants to address the council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, we're adjourned.